Welcome back to my channel. I hope all of you have watched my previous 3 videos on practical criticism. Now we will continue with more topics from the same chapter. So let's begin with our first topic, which is 4 kinds of meaning. The key to understand poetry lies in answering 3 questions. First one, what is meaning? Then how do we find meaning? And what exactly we discover when we interpret. This shows that reading is not simple, it is a process of inquiry and analysis. Richards questions the dictionary definition of meaning because writers do not always convey what they intend and readers may interpret different. Meaning is a complex multi-layered phenomena. It is produced by different mental process, interaction between words and readers' interpretations. There are several kinds of meanings. Richards explained that language has two aspects. First one, denotative meaning, which is literal dictionary meaning. For example, rose. In literal sense, it's a flower. Second one is connotative meaning, which is associated meanings, emotions, and have multiple interpretations. For example, the same rose could be interpreted as love, romance, and beauty. This is why poetry becomes ambiguous. Richards further develops one of the most influential theories of meaning in modern literary criticism by proposing that poetic language operates through 4 kinds of meaning, which are interrelated: sense, feeling, tone, and intention. Let's explore all the 4. First one is sense. The first kind of meaning is sense, which refers to the logical and referential content of the language. Richards states that when we speak, we usually expect to say something definite, and when we listen, we expect something definite to be said. This expectation constitutes the level of sense. It is the aspect of meaning that connects words to objects, events, or ideas in the external world. It is primarily the denotative function of language, aiming at clarity and precision. However, Richard points out that this aspect is not entirely free from ambiguity because language is not perfectly precise. Sense forms the foundation of understanding but insufficient for proper interpretations. The second aspect is feeling, which introduces the emotional dimensions of meaning. Unlike sense, which deals with what is said, feeling concerns the writer's attitude towards what is said. It encompasses the whole range of human emotions, pleasure, pain, desire, and reflects how these emotions are expressed through language. Richards believed that language is not merely a tool for conveying information, it is also a medium through which emotions are communicated and experienced. When we read poetry, we do not simply understand ideas, we also feel them. Thus, feeling add depth to language, although feeling have very little relevance to it. The third aspect is tone. Tone refers to the speaker's attitude towards the listener or reader. Tone reveals the relationship between the speaker and the listener, whether it is one of respect, authority, irony, or sarcasm. Richards illustrates this by pointing out that a speaker may adopt different tones depending on the context, such as a teacher addressing students in a classroom versus the same teacher speaking to a fellow scholar. Tone is a social dimension of meaning. Misunderstanding tone can lead to serious misinterpretations, especially in poetry, where irony and subtle shift in attitudes are common. The fourth aspect is intention, which concerns the purpose or aim of the utterance. It answers the question of why something is being said. Intention gives direction to the other 3 aspects of meaning. In poetry, intention shapes the selection of words, the arrangement of images, and the overall impact of the work. Richards states that the understanding of intention is a part of the whole business of apprehending its meaning. means understanding intention is essential for grasping the full significance of poetry. In short, sense provides the basic framework, feeling adds emotional color, tone stabilizes the relationship with the readers, and the intention directs the overall effect. The meaning of a poem emerges from the interaction of these elements rather than from any single. This framework highlights the complexity of poetic meaning and the need for proper balanced interpretations. Now we are going to discuss how is meaning constituted. Richards moves beyond and begins to explain how these meanings operate together in actual communication. All four meanings are interconnected and constantly interacting. Misunderstanding occurs when readers fail to maintain a proper balance between these elements. As he already said, that language has both denotative and connotative dimensions. Sometimes one function becomes more prominent depending on the type of writing, but other never disappear entirely. To illustrate this, Richard introduces the examples of various types of writing. The first one is scientific writing. In scientific writing, the primarily aim is clarity, accuracy, and objectivity. Here, sense becomes the dominant function. A scientific writer is mainly concerned with ensuring that what is said is precise, unambiguous, and logically valid. The writer wants the reader to understand exactly what is intended without any interference by his feelings. Tone are minimized, and the intention is mainly to inform or explain. For example, if we read poetry as if it were scientific writing, focusing only on sense, we miss its emotional and aesthetics richness. Conversely, if we read scientific writing with too much attention to feeling, we may distort its factual meaning. The second one is popular science. Richards further says that when scientific ideas are presented to the general public sense, which means clarity of ideas is still important, but feeling and tone also become important to attract readers and keep their interest. Writers may simplify or slightly modify facts to make them more engaging. Here, Richard simply states that sense is significant, but other functions like feeling and tones helps to make readers understood. The third one is political writing. Richard states that in political speeches during rally or elections or pamphlets, intention becomes dominant to persuade, influence, or win support from audience. Feeling is strongly used to appeal emotionally. Tone is carefully controlled to connect with the citizens, and sense here is facts may be pushed into the background. The motive is here not just the facts, but influence and persuasion. The last one is poetry. Richard believes that poetry is where all four meanings are highly balanced and interconnected. No single function dominates completely. Poetic statements are not meant to be taken literally. Richard explains this by giving an example of a poetic line: my soul is a ship in full sail. Here, if we try to make literal sense, it seems meaningless. Soul is not a ship. The real meaning expresses here freedom and energy. Richard says that a poet may use illogical statements, distort facts to express feelings, and adjust tone. Fact is not the necessarily element in poetry. If a poem succeeds in expressing feeling, tone, and intention, then it is successful, even if its statements are not logically true. Thus, poetry is primarily an emotive use of language rather than factual one. Different writings contain different blends of these functions, and the key to a successful reading is to identify the dominant function and read them as such. Let's move forward to the last topic of this lesson, which is figurative language. According to I.A. Richards, figurative language is an essential feature of a poetic expression through which poets communicate complex emotions, experiences that cannot be conveyed through literal language. Figurative language operates through imaginative association. It includes devices such as metaphors, simile, and personification, all of which extend meaning beyond the literal level. Richard further points out four different kinds of misunderstanding while interpreting poetry. Let's talk about one by one. First one is misunderstanding created due to carelessness or lack of attention. According to I.A. Richards, carelessness means superficial or inattentive reading of poetry. Readers do not pay proper attention, they read casually and miss important details. And the most important thing is that why carelessness happens. Richard says this occurs because readers fail to notice the formal features of poetry such as rhythm, meter, sound, patterns, and word arrangements. Richard further gives a very important idea that our mind reads by expectation, not by attention. We assume what will come next. We do not actually observe the words closely. This leads to confusion and wrong interpretation. Richard suggests to understand poetry, we must read attentively and repeatedly, we must notice every word and structure, and we must avoid quick assumptions. The second one is misunderstanding due to over literal a reading. Richards also points out that figurative language is slippery and prone to misunderstanding. One major difficulty arises when readers either interpret figures too literally or fail to interpret them properly. Over literal reading destroys the emotional and symbolic value of poetry, while careless reading leads to confusion. Readers must develop a balanced approach that recognizes both the literal and figurative aspects of language. The third one is misunderstanding due to inappropriate mixing of metaphors. Another important issue discussed by Richards is the problem of mixed metaphors. When multiple metaphors are used together without coherence, they can clash and cancel each other's meaning. In such cases, figurative language fails to communicate effectively and instead creates ambiguity and confusion. Therefore, successful use of figurative language requires control, consistency, and unity of imagery. And the last one is misunderstanding due to over personification. Personification is a type of figurative language where human qualities are attributed to non human objects. Richard argues that personification is valuable because it helps express feelings and attributes more vividly. However, its effectiveness depends on proportion. Excessive or inappropriate use can weaken the poetic effect. Richards concludes that figurative language is essential to poetry, but it demands careful handling from both the poet and the reader. The poet must use it with precision and coherence, while the reader must interpret it with awareness. Now, with this, I have completed the first lesson of our research methodology, which is Introduction to Practical Criticism. I hope you all understood all the facts. Subscribe for more such videos and thank you for watching.